Hello, I'm Marco Rubio. Let me thank you for the privilege, the honor, the blessing it is to serve you here in the United States Senate. And welcome to this week's edition of Constituent Mailbox, where I go through the emails and letters and pick a few that are indicative of the kinds of mail that we're getting. And then I read a few of them on the air and I answer your questions. So I want to encourage you to continue to write us. Your letters, your emails are very informative and they help us to focus on the issues that are on your mind. So this week we're getting a lot of emails and letters regarding the Lake Okeechobee water releases, and I'd like to share two of them with you. So let me read the first. It's a letter from Charles in Lake Mary. He writes, "Our coastal fisheries are being negatively impacted by altered freshwater flows. Florida's healthy freshwater flows need to be restored. As a lifelong Floridian, I demand that the comprehensive Everglades restoration plan is implemented immediately. I demand that freshwater flows from the Caloosahatchee River and St. Lucie River are greatly reduced and match ecologically defined maximum and minimum flows. I demand that water storage south of Lake Okeechobee is created now, not delayed until 2022. Demand that the freshwater flows into Indian River Lagoon, Charlotte Harbor, and other estuaries are returned to more natural patterns, and I demand that fresh water flowing into the estuaries is clean. This is an outrage, and you must act now." A second letter from Belinda. She's from Palm City, and she writes, "What's being done to stop the Lake Okeechobee discharges into the St. Lucie River? This is a priority to our area. These discharges have been going on long enough. They need to stop immediately." Charles and Belinda, thank you for your letters and your email. We hear a lot about this and have been now for the last number of years. If you live in that area, you're familiar with what's happening. Water is, let me explain so everyone can be familiar with what's happening. Lake Okeechobee in the middle of the state is a major reservoir, and it can hold up to 12, 13, 14 feet of water. When it gets to about 16 feet of water, they worry that the dams that surround it and hold the water in may be compromised, and so they release water. Now, normally, in the days before people were around, that water would just flow south right into the Everglades. But after all sorts of development and other things, that water now flows east and west. A lot of that water has nutrients in it. Some of it comes from fertilizer runoff, both from farming and from commercial areas. So what happens is when you release all of this water with all of these nutrients in it into freshwater estuaries like the Caloosahatchee and the St. Lucie, the result is that it leads to all sorts of growths, algae and so forth, and it strangles and suffocates life in those areas. And that's why you're getting these terrible fish kills and other situations. And quite frankly, often you'll see the water turn brown as those nutrients are feeding life and those plant lives are coming up and creating this situation that we now face. So what's the answer? Well, here's a couple things we need to be aware of. First, there are localized causes of nutrients that need to be taken into account. The communities that surround many of these water flows have septic tanks. Those septic tanks are old. You can imagine that as the water leaks out of and the waste leaks out of those septic tanks, those nutrients are also getting into the system. That's a localized issue that needs to be dealt with. What we can do is ensure that less water is pumped east and west, and that to the extent water is pumped, it's pumped south into the Everglades. And so, and that the water in Lake Okeechobee is cleaner as well. So what we're doing in that regard at the federal level is a couple things. The comprehensive Everglade restoration plan. We've been fighting for years to get it authorized. It's been an uphill battle. This year we finally got it done here in the Senate. It has been authorized, and that will help us begin the work. There's been some things done as well. The 10 Mile Creek deauthorization, where in essence we've returned this federal project over to the state authorities at the Water Management District. This basically will act as a pool where they can hold some water, more than what they're capable of holding now. And the more you can hold into these areas, the less water will flow. We've also been working on the Herbert Hoover Dam and improving the ability to hold more water into Lake Okeechobee. The more water you can hold there, the less of it you're going to have to pump. And the ultimate solution is Everglades restoration and allowing more water to flow south as opposed to east and west, creating all of this damage. If it flows south, as it moves south through the rivers of grass and so forth, it cleans out a lot of these nutrients. So there isn't a magic silver bullet here. There isn't one thing that we need to do. There's a lot of different things we need to do. And fortunately and unfortunately, when you do major projects of this kind, it takes time because of the permits and the impact it could have on wildlife and the funding. The good news is that it's happening. Slowly but surely, a lot of these projects are coming online. The bad news is that for many of you who are deeply concerned about this as I am, it's not happening fast enough. We continue to face these threats. Just this week, we had a tropical storm here in Florida. It's going to dump even more water into Lake Okeechobee. That means the likelihood of more water being pumped is increased. It's a terrible situation. We're doing everything we can to get these projects authorized and moving as quickly as possible. Every bit of water that we can keep back or flowing in a different direction is going to help, but a lot of different things have to happen so we can get back to where we need to be on this issue. Please rest assured it is a major issue for us. We are constantly on top of it. We're proud that we've made some progress on one of those major issues this year, and we look forward to doing more here in the weeks and months to come. Well, I want to thank all of you for writing me and your input on the different issues that we face. Obviously, you just heard one. And I encourage you to continue to write us and to email us because, you never know. Next time it might be your letter or your email that we read on the air. So I want to end by again thanking you for this extraordinary opportunity and blessing that I have to serve you here in the United States Senate. May God bless all of you. May God bless our great state of Florida. And may God always bless the United States of America.